Hello, friends from the manga world. My name is Hector,
And my name is G.
and we are here to talk to you about the manga new releases for the month of August 2023. G and I work for Penguin Random House, and we manage sales around the world in the direct comic retail market. So, titles that we talked about in this video are from publishers that we represent into those markets. Also note, there's always, delays and titles might move. So you will see maybe some titles that were we talked about in the previous video, or also there might be some of the titles that we talk about today that might move forward. Um, and also to explain a little bit how this works, G and I look at the list for the month, in this case, August. We pick some titles that we like and we highlight those at the beginning. Then we talk about the number one volumes, and then we'll leave you with the rest of the list. The slideshow will continue and you'll be able to see what else is there on the month of August. Okay, and without further ado, let's get started.
And then it would actually be my pick, which is Delinquent Daddy and Tender Teacher Volume 1. This is by Tama Mitsuki. And this is a BL story, as if you couldn't tell by the cover. And uh, it's about this teacher whose name is Hitsuji, who when he was younger, like in school, like in his teenage years, he remember having a crush on a friend, like this guy in his school. And he didn't really do anything about it back then. So years pass, he's gone through college, now he's an adult, now he's a teacher, and he encounters a student who is having a little bit of a trouble in terms of like the student is kind of disappointed with his father, like this young little kid who's like, that's not my dad, even though it's his dad. And the dad turns out to be the crush that he used to have, who, as the title implies, was a delinquent back in the day, but is really trying hard to become a good father for his son. Um, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, so I won't say it, but there's a reason why he's taking up the responsibility and really taking it seriously at this point in time, and you'll see that when you read through it. So it's a really um, cute and adorable story between these two and this little kid. It kind of reminds me of our dining table, because you have like this little kid that is like kind of being a bridge between these two guys, and you see that in our dining table, and there's like this heartwarming bond that forms, like a found family type of story. And that's the type of vibe that I get from our dining table. The main difference being obviously the premise is a bit different. And also, this is a little bit more explicit than our dining table was, just so that you know. And yeah, uh, this is my pick for the month of August, and you should pick it up definitely.
Yes, very cool. Next up is one of my picks, Land of the Lustrous, number 12 by Haruko Ishikawa. Now, this, first of all, the cover really doesn't, this cover doesn't do a lot of justice to the illustrations. This is this manga series. One of the big things that it's known for is for the beautiful illustrations. So that's why if we go to the next slide, you'll see some of the interior illustrations for it. And this is volume 12. And one of the main reasons I wanted to talk about this, other than that I love this series, is that it's been on hiatus for a couple of years, at least the English translations, and we haven't had a new volume in English since 2021. So it's kind of a big deal. And to tell you a little bit about the story for of what this book is there's a world where these creatures called well, the world is called the Lustrous. Um, and they, sorry, the people call it the Lustrous. They are these alien figures that are made of gems. They're sort of gems, and they are trying to survive against humans that come into their planet and try to, you know, sort of take them over and turn them into jewelry, basically. And there's a war going on between the humans invading the planet and obviously the gems protecting themselves. And there's this main character, um, who Foz, who, he's a high schooler and he's trying. He sees the war and he wants to do more for the war and wants to get involved, but instead of that, he's sent off to sort of to study the natural history of his planet. And there he meets this other gem called Simbar, and it's a Simbar. It's sort of it lives in isolation, and they strike up a friendship, and they talk about how they want to, help their world survive. But there's also about the talks about a lot of social tensions within the community of the gems. So it's a very, very complex, beautifully drawn, but also beautifully written story. Volume 12 is coming, and like I said, it's been on hiatus in English at least for 2 years. So I think a lot of people are looking forward to it. And you can see some of the images in here. It does get a little bit sort of gruesome, because they're cutting up people who are gems. And the next, oh, we saw the previous one already. Yeah, you kind of see that sort of melting. So this is one that it's really, really, I've loved for a long time, and I highly recommend this one. And especially now that there's a new volume coming in, it's a good starting point for everybody to just start the series, and you'll have a 12 volume coming up. Yep.
All right, my next pick is A Girl on the Shore. This is the collector's edition. So, this is by the very renowned Ino Asana, who did work on Solanin, and also Goodnight Pun Pun. Very popular titles, very renowned in that way. This is a bit different, and I would consider a contemporary classic in its own right. It's packaged in this beautiful hardcover collector's edition that's coming out. And this one, I'm sure a lot of people already know about it, but just very briefly, it is very polarizing of a story, very controversial. But that's where the attention is, right? And so it's a story about these two teenagers who, if I could put it there, they both have their own trauma that they go through, and they deal with the trauma by using each other, which is very destructive in its own right. So you're basically watching as these two teenagers are being very destructive emotionally, very much emotionally, and you see that. So when you see them trying to sort of feel something or feel some sort of emotion by engaging in very adult activities, you're very concerned about them. And that's where it kind of gets uncomfortable, but it's done purposefully. Like you're meant to feel uncomfortable, you're meant to feel awkward. This is meant to be shocking as you're reading it. And so when you're seeing these teenagers go through this and their sexual identity and growing up, it's very sad and also very tragic and also very depressing as you're reading through this, but it's very telling as you're reading through this story. And so it has impacted so many people that I've seen online, in person, that I've talked to about this story, and the fact that it's being treated in this way, and this collector's edition is definitely something that you definitely want to pick up for sure for this month. So yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And next is Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. This is the manga volume 17. Um, and I mean, this is a very popular manga and also a very popular anime. Second season is coming up during this summer 2023 season. And if you go to the next slide, you will see also we have the next installment on the light novel, volume 23 already. Now, uh, many of you already know Mushoku Tensei. Obviously, it's one of our best sellers, and it's also, like I said, the anime is very popular. But for those of you who don't know, just a quick overview. I mean, G and some of you who watch these videos know I'm a huge isekai fan, and this is some people are calling this is sort of the ultimate isekai because it's both it both has all the elements, going to a different dying, going to a different world, and it's a fantasy world, and you can use magic, but it takes it from when the character is a baby and he retains his consciousness. So as a baby, being when he was born, he already has his memories from his past life, and this character. But the other thing is sometimes, most of the times there are people that weren't doing so well in the real world, and they come and they become like you know uh great in this world. In this case, it's a guy you wouldn't really like too much. He's shut in and all that, but also he's kind of creepy, and he this comes through sometimes through the story, but in it shows that on the story, but it's written so you see this character kind of growing and kind of saying, you know what, I was a creep. I shouldn't be a creep anymore. I got a second chance. And it's sort of the recurring theme of Mushoku Tensei. And the other thing is, as you can see, light novels is up to volume 23 and manga up to volume 17 in English. It's much higher in the Japanese. So it's a story that's been around for a long time, and it does take this character. I mean, imagine the story where you follow the character and what they're going through since they're baby with their family and all of that, and growing and growing. And obviously he's very adept, he's a genius, and he's very good at magic because of course he has the brain of an adult. And it grows up, and as you can see here, spoiler alert, with his family and his baby. So it takes you through a lot of things, and every volume sort of it, it has so much story, and this world that they created, they put a lot of things for this world, but especially they put a lot of story for these characters, and you fall in love with the characters and you follow the main character, but also you kind of follow uh these secondary characters that with him, and when they get separated you kind of get that story. So it's an epic isekai story. It's still funny at times. It's still very silly at times, but it's very serious, and it's for fans who also like high fantasy. I think they're gonna love Mushoku Tensei. And obviously, second season coming, so there's gonna be another round of people wanting to read and going beyond the season, because that's like I said, well up and like novels and manga, we're up to higher volumes. So there you go.
Next up, Mr. Villain's Day Off. This is the volume one, talking about a shift in conversation here.
Yeah.
We have this super evil villain who is part of an organization. He's considered or called the general. And in the organization, their main focus is to, take over the world, like any villain tries to do. Um, but villains like himself, they have days off where they like
Mhm.
to do something other than nefarious deeds. And this particular villain likes to go to the local zoo and see his beloved pandas because obviously pandas are superior beings among all of humanity and other species, according to him. And he likes to try out different flavors of ice cream as well, just like a normal like guy who like takes his day off as like a precious thing that he does on his off time. But then he's constantly annoyingly being targeted by the superhero of this world called the Ranger, and it's all about protecting his precious day off as well. And so it's like this really fun story as you're reading through. If you didn't know, an anime was announced for this, so we'll see that coming our way in the near future. And so this is something you may want to pick up before that airs. So yeah.
Yeah. And then for the next one, it's actually backwards because there was an anime and they based the manga on the it's actually a short animated film that has won several awards. This is Summer Ghost, the complete manga collection, and this is by Otsuichi, and illustrated by Joshi Inomi. And in this case, for the manga, is character designs by Londra, and it's some collaboration. And then on the next slide, you're going to see the light novel. This is 392 pages, by the way, and then that's the light novel is 320, and you can see that it's obviously Otsuichi, it's the writer, but then the illustrations on this is by Londra, and Londra is there. It's well known because he has participated as illustrator in certain other projects like Vivi, I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, and Josie the Tiger and the Fish. So the story for Summer Ghost is about this group of teenagers, three of them, who in their town there's this urban legend that if you go to this abandoned airport and set up fireworks at night, ghosts appears, ghost of a young woman, a ghost of a young woman will appear, and so they the students they go there and they decide to do this, and it's not not only a story about the supernatural things that are happening and about the story behind this ghost that might show up, but it's also the story of the relationship of these high schoolers and these teens and their relationship with their town too. So it is not only like I said, a lot supernatural and ghost story, sorry, but it's also a very slice of life story. I really love the premise of this. I highly recommend it, watching the short animated film, but also definitely pick up, and you have the choice whether readers can pick between the light novel or the manga. They're both coming out at the same time in English, so it's great, and the price is great. I mean, 320 pages for 14.99 for the light novel and 20.99 for the manga for almost 400 pages. That's awesome price. So that's my next recommendation.
Right, we're heading over to volume one, so I'll talk a little bit about each one of them. We have The Night Captain is the New Princess to Be, volume one. This is a shoujo a rom-com tale about a dashing female bodyguard who pretends to be engaged to her childhood friend, the prince. But is their fake betrothal really just an act to him? The ultimate question in fake marriages or fake soon-to-be
Relationships,
marriages
yeah.
or relationships, I should say. And then the next one we have Miraculous Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir manga volume one.
Can I jump in on
Return.
that one?
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead, talk about it. I know that this is
Because
yes.
I know, I'm a fan because one of my nieces is a huge fan, and actually, I think this is one of the reasons why now she's going to college to study it, being an illustrator and animator. So, and this is if you don't know Miraculous, you need to just Google it. This is huge license, huge property. It is originally from France. It takes place in Paris. It has superheroes. It's sort of a cross between Sailor Moon, Power Rangers, a little bit like Pokemon because they have these little creatures that are the ones that sort of give you the powers and give you the suits. And there's this very very cool romance between Cat Noir and Ladybug, sorry. But also there's this will they, won't they kind of thing, because Cat Noir is in love with Ladybug. They don't know their secret identities, but Cat Noir is in love with Ladybug, but on their secret identities, or the real identities, the girl is in love with the guy, but they don't like each. It's like they play with that whole thing, so it's a little bit like Hannah Montana too. So I highly recommend it, because sorry, this is a guilty pleasure for me. I started watching it when my niece, when she was younger, and I really got into it. And there's several seasons, there's several movies. There's a movie of her going to New York. It's a whole thing. And there's other characters that are also can turn into different superheroes. But also it's a huge license, and it's the first time that we have a manga in English. So I think this is going to be huge. So don't sleep on this. Definitely, you need to order copies of this and have them at your stores.
And then next up we have Windbreaker. This is the volume 1. I've actually talked about this before, and highly anticipated, at least for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is for fans of Tokyo Revengers. You may also like this. It's as I mean, you'll see it here, but it's about a high school full of delinquents, and the main protagonist trying to like get up into the ranks to be the top amongst them all. So as you can imagine, it's like edgy, action packed. It's like full of drama and everything that I love. I
Yeah.
love reading delinquent stories. So this is definitely one of them. So keep your eyes out on this as well. So
Yeah, this could very well be the next Tokyo Revengers, or the next Blue Lock. And it's sort of a mix of those two too, a little bit. But yeah, don't sleep on this one for sure.
yeah. And that concludes for volume 1s, but we
Hmm.
also go over the continuing series. A lot of cool ones that we're not able to talk about just because of the limited time that we have, but definitely like we'll run through all of it so you can see it. Definitely pause the video so you can like take notes on what you want to pick up as well. So we're going to exit out here, but stay tuned so you can see the rest of the list. So we'll go ahead and get started with that.
Thank you for
And
watching.
we'll thank you for watching, everyone. And in our description below, we have all our social media links. So bye,
Yeah.
everyone.
Bye.